So how do you prove a murder happened when the victim has just vanished? I mean, no body, no weapon, not even a crime scene. Today we're diving into a landmark case that had to answer that exact question, and in doing so, it completely changed forensic history, with a crime so gruesome it's still shocking even all these decades later. It all really starts with this chilling warning. This is what Helle Crafts, a Danish flight attendant, told her friends and her lawyer in the fall of 1986. You see, she knew her marriage was falling apart, and she was genuinely afraid of her husband, a pilot named Richard Crafts. This single premonition, well, it would become an absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle for the investigation that was about to unfold.
On the surface, Helle and Richard Crafts seemed to have it all. They'd built a life in the quiet suburb of Newtown, Connecticut, and were raising 3 children. But by 1986, that picture was shattered. Helle had confirmed Richard was having multiple affairs, and, being deeply devoted to her kids, she was making plans to file for divorce and get custody. Then, on November 18th, she got home from a long flight and was simply never seen again.
So what exactly happened on that cold November night? To really understand how someone could just disappear like that, we have to look really closely at the timeline of events.
Okay, so a coworker drops Helle off at her house, and almost immediately a huge, severe snowstorm just blankets the entire region. It was unfortunately the perfect cover for a crime, because after that moment, not a single person ever saw or heard from Helle Crafts again.
In the weeks that followed Helle's disappearance, the focus pretty quickly turned to her husband, Richard. And his behavior, well, it wasn't just suspicious. It was this tangled web of contradictory lies that frankly started to unravel almost immediately.
Richard's stories were just all over the map. He told some people Helle was in Denmark, visiting her sick mother. He told others she was off on vacation in the Canary Islands. But the people who were closest to Helle, they knew the truth. There was no way she would have just up and left her children. Her plans were for divorce, not some spontaneous trip.
As investigators started digging into his credit card records, a truly horrifying picture began to emerge. Right around the time Helle vanished, Richard bought a brand new, large chest freezer. A freezer that, by the way, was never found in the house. He bought new bedding, and then, most chillingly, he purchased a new chainsaw and rented a commercial-grade wood chipper. These weren't just random purchases, they were the tools for a meticulous and absolutely brutal plan.
So, the investigation was pretty much at a dead end. Without a body, what could they do? But then, a crucial tip from a completely unexpected witness finally broke the case wide open, leading detectives right to the shore of a local lake.
You have to picture this. It's the middle of that crazy snowstorm, and a guy named Joseph Hine is just out doing his job, plowing the roads. In the dead of night, somewhere between 3 and 4 in the morning, he spots a U-Haul truck with a wood chipper attached to it, parked near a bridge on a secluded road. He even saw a man standing next to it. At the time, it just seemed odd. But it was only after police started asking questions that Hine realized the significance of what he'd seen and came forward.
So when investigators searched that exact spot by Lake Zor, what they found was beyond horrifying. They started sifting through piles of wood chips near the riverbank, and they recovered this collection of just microscopic evidence. We're talking less than 3 ounces of human tissue, thousands of tiny strands of blonde hair, little bone fragments, a single fingernail with pink polish still on it, and the crown of a tooth. And all of it was stained with type O blood, which just happened to be Helle's blood type.
And this is where the case turns from a chilling mystery into this incredible story of groundbreaking forensic science. Led by the legendary Dr. Henry Lee, investigators now had the monumental task of turning these tiny, almost invisible fragments into undeniable proof of murder.
The forensic work here was just brilliant. First, that tooth crown? That was the jackpot. A forensic dentist was able to match it perfectly to Helle's dental records. That was the first positive proof she was dead. Next, divers searched the lake and found the chainsaw. Now, Richard had tried to file off the serial number, but the lab was able to restore it, linking its purchase directly to him. And finally, to prove a human body could even be destroyed this way, the team ran a pig carcass through a similar wood chipper. The resulting bone fragments were a perfect match to those found by the lake.
Now, the prosecution faced this massive legal hurdle. For centuries, there's been this legal myth, no body, no murder. It comes from the Latin term corpus delicti, which means the body of the crime. It was basically a safeguard, from an era before modern forensics, to make sure someone wasn't executed for a murder that never even happened. But here's the thing. It doesn't mean a literal corpse. It means the body of evidence. And this case was about to put that idea to the ultimate test.
So, armed with this overwhelming mountain of forensic evidence, but again, no body, the state of Connecticut took Richard Crafts to trial for murder. And it was a legal battle that was absolutely going to make history.
It wasn't a slam dunk, though. The first trial was incredibly tense, and it actually ended in a hung jury because a single juror held out for acquittal. But the prosecution didn't give up. They scheduled a second trial, moved it to a different city because of all the publicity, and this time, a new jury would hear the entire meticulously constructed case from start to finish.
And on November 21, 1989, the verdict came down. Richard Crafts was found guilty of murder. This was a monumental moment. For the very first time in Connecticut's history, a person was convicted of murder without the discovery of the victim's body. The science had spoken, and the jury had listened.
He was sentenced to 50 years in prison. A definitive, final chapter to one of the most notorious and gruesome crimes the state had ever seen.
But, the story doesn't really end with the prison sentence. The Helle Crafts case left a lasting mark, a deep legacy on forensics, on the law, and even on popular culture.
The legacy of this case is really threefold. For forensic science, it was a total masterclass by Dr. Henry Lee, proving that an entire murder case could be built on just microscopic evidence, a revolutionary idea back then. In the legal world, it set a powerful new precedent, making it clear that a killer couldn't get away with it just by getting rid of the body. And of course, in pop culture, that shocking method of disposal became infamous, directly inspiring that unforgettable wood chipper scene in the classic movie Fargo.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Helle's chilling premonition, "Don't assume it was an accident," is ultimately what led to her justice. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other no-body cases have been successfully solved and prosecuted since, all because of the trail blazed by this one unforgettable investigation?